This courtroom was already heavy before the judge even called the case, but what happened next turned it into one of the most emotionally charged victim impact hearings you'll ever witness. A Texas murder case, a defendant facing decades behind bars, and a family shattered by violence trying to speak through grief, rage, and heartbreak all at once. What makes this case especially intense is that this isn't a trial where the facts are still being debated. The defendant has already agreed to a plea deal. That means the courtroom shifts from "did this happen" to "how does a family live after something like this?" And trust me, the emotional damage described in these statements is impossible to ignore. You're about to hear from loved ones who lost a father, a brother, a son, and a role model. One speaker is so overwhelmed with anger that the judge has to step in and calm the courtroom before things spiral out of control. Another family member delivers a statement that feels less like a speech and more like a lifelong wound being opened in real time. And later, you'll hear a powerful moment where forgiveness and fury collide in the same breath. Now, legally speaking, the defendant is facing a first-degree felony murder charge, which in Texas can carry anywhere from 5 years to life in prison. But here's where it gets complicated. There's already a negotiated plea agreement on the table for 35 years. So the question hanging over this entire courtroom is whether that sentence actually feels like justice to the victim's family. Because emotionally, many of them clearly believe no amount of prison time could ever equal what was taken from them. And as you watch this unfold, pay attention to how the judge handles the room. Victim impact statements are incredibly emotional, but the court still has to maintain order, respect, and legal procedure. That balance becomes one of the biggest tensions in this entire hearing. By the end of this case, you may find yourself asking the same question everyone in that courtroom was silently wrestling with. Can a sentence ever truly compensate for a life lost?
For my daughter. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not there to say this in person, but I know the sentence you were given to spend put away is nothing compared to the literal death sentence you gave my dad. You're a complete coward, and I hope you live the rest of your life in shame and guilt. I walk the stage to graduate in 3 weeks, and I won't have my dad in the stands watching me because of you. You're a monster, and I promise to make sure everyone, including those you love, will see it. You get the freedom of getting visits from your kids, while me and my siblings get the pain of visiting a cemetery. When you do get those visits from your kids, I hope all they see is a criminal, a monster, and a disgusting human. One day, these same words will come to you again, but from my mouth, and I'll look at you in your face as your life goes downhill the way you looked at my dad and took his life. I promise you won't live to see a normal life again as long as I'm around. I'll make sure your face is engraved in people's heads so when they see you, they will see a murderer. My dad taught me and my siblings to be strong physically and mentally, so I assure you that I will get justice for my dad one way or another. This isn't the end, so remember, please, with these words with every day that passes.
Court is calling 2022 CR 8635, State of Texas versus Bondale Skirvin. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Brittany Mitchell for the state.
For the defense?
Jay Norton for Mr. Skirvin.
Are you Mr. Skirvin?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, have you received all the discovery in this case and did you review it with your client?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Thank you. I'm going to show you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
I do, Your Honor.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
Your Honor, we are proceeding on count 1, paragraph A.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
Showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendant's Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand you're charged with the offense of murder. That's a first-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 5 to 99 years up to life in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. You want to go around?
Thank you.
If for any reason the court doesn't follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call and the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement you were giving up those rights?
Right here, we're seeing one of the most important legal moments in the entire hearing. Even though it sounds procedural and calm on the surface, the judge is making absolutely sure the defendant understands every constitutional right he's giving up by accepting this plea agreement. And that matters because once a plea is entered knowingly and voluntarily, it becomes extremely difficult to undo later. Notice how carefully the judge walks through each point. The right to a jury trial, the right to confront witnesses, the right to remain silent, and even the limits on appeal. This is standard courtroom procedure, but it also protects the integrity of the case. If the defendant later claims he didn't understand the consequences, the court now has a detailed record proving otherwise. What also stands out here is the no contest plea instead of a direct guilty plea. A lot of viewers confuse the two, but in criminal court, a no contest plea still results in a conviction and sentencing, just like a guilty plea would. The difference is that the defendant is not formally admitting guilt in open court. Legally, though, the outcome is almost identical here. And think about the emotional contrast happening beneath this calm exchange. While the courtroom is quietly discussing paperwork and legal waivers, the victim's family is sitting there carrying the weight of a permanent loss. That emotional explosion we're about to hear has been building underneath every one of these procedural questions.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
He has, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
He does, in my opinion.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Skirvin, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
According to the plea, the state is proceeding on count 1, paragraph A. Punishment is to be assessed at 35 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon and there are no applications. Did you understand that to be the plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Defense?
Yes, ma'am.
State?
Yes.
Showing you the paragraph entitled Waiver of Appeal paragraph. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, have there been any such motions?
No, ma'am.
Then to count 1, paragraph A, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
State any evidence?
Your Honor, we have to state exhibit number 1 in all attachments.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor, Mr. Skirvin and I have gone over those documents together.
All right, I'm showing you what's entitled Waiver and Consent to Stipulation of Testimony and Stipulations. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call in the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right. Is there any victim impact?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
We have, obviously, there's a lot of family and friends here. There are 3 that would really wish to address the defendant.
All right. So we're going to go off the record. Mr. Skirvin, in this courtroom, I require that everyone treats everyone with respect. So family members of the complainant has something they want to say to you. So just internalize it. They are going to be respectful. All right. Who wishes to speak? Okay. All right. If he wishes to, he can stay there. That will make it easier for the deputies.
I'm older brother. To me, you a coward. 35 years ain't no time. You know what I'm saying? I respect this courtroom, so I don't feel like you remorseful. I feel like, what you doing is fucked up. See my language.
This is one of those moments where the courtroom tension becomes almost unbearable. You can hear the grief turning into anger, and honestly, it's easy to understand why emotions are boiling over. The victim's family clearly feels that 35 years is nowhere near enough punishment for taking someone's life. But at the same time, the judge has a responsibility to keep the courtroom controlled and safe, and watch how quickly the judge addresses the behavior. The concern isn't just about profanity, it's also about courtroom security. When someone begins pacing, swaying aggressively, or escalating emotionally during a murder hearing, deputies immediately go on alert because situations can turn dangerous very fast. Judges have seen too many cases where grief erupts into confrontation. What's interesting here is that the judge isn't dismissing the family's pain at all. In fact, she openly acknowledges how devastating murder cases are. But she's drawing a line between emotional expression and disorder in the courtroom. That balance is one of the hardest parts of handling victim impact hearings. Families deserve to be heard, but the court also has to preserve structure and safety. And let me ask you this. If you were in that family's position, hearing a sentence you believed was too light, do you think you could stay calm in that moment? Because this courtroom is showing the raw collision between legal procedure and human grief in real time.
All right, so everyone, here's the thing. Here's the thing, everyone. I understand that tempers are high, and they're always high in these cases in felony court, but I understand that they're even higher when it involves a murder case. And I understand that someone has lost a loved one. I do understand, but we are not going to use profanity in this court. If we do, what will end up happening is there will not be a victim impact statement. So when people start using profanity in court, start swaying back and forth the way you're swaying back and forth, that puts deputies on high alert, and that makes the court not safe the way it should be. All right, so this is what I would like you to do for me. Have a seat and speak from a seated position. That will make it easier for everyone. And if you want to, you can sit on this side so that he'll be able to see you, because I know there's equipment in the way. And that just makes it easier for everyone. All right, you may proceed.
You know, you take my brother life, he got kids. You ain't thinking about none of that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all would never know how it feels to lose a loved one because you're a coward. I'm from the streets, I know what it is. So, but I'll never respect this. Because you did it in a cowardly way. You know what I'm saying? You take my brother's life for what? For nothing. For nothing. Because you was a coward, because you couldn't face that. My brother was a good man, good father. Worked real hard. Took care of his kids. I just came home from doing 11 years. And I didn't even get to see my brother. You know what I'm saying? So, if you feel like that 35 is justified, none of us feel that way. But that ain't for me to judge, it's God. So, with that said, I hope when you sit in there, you really realize the life that you're taking, it ain't gonna never just be what it is. You can't get that back. His kids can't see him. He can't see his kids graduate. What my mother go through every day, my dad, the rest of my family, those that can't be here and speak, words can't even too much explain how we really feel. But you're gonna always be a coward in my eyes. Always. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Because I'm gonna let my word be few.
That statement from the victim's brother was powerful because it didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded real. You can hear someone struggling to process not only the loss itself, but also the feeling that life simply moved on without giving him the chance to say goodbye. He talks about coming home after serving 11 years himself and never getting to see his brother again. That line carries enormous emotional weight. And notice something important. Despite the anger, he repeatedly circles back to the idea that judgment ultimately belongs to God. That tension between rage and restraint shows up constantly in victim impact statements. People are trying to express unimaginable pain while still remaining composed enough to be heard. Legally, these statements don't change the plea agreement at this stage. The 35-year deal has already been negotiated. But emotionally and symbolically, they matter a lot. Victim impact statements give families a chance to reclaim their voice in a process that often feels dominated by attorneys, paperwork, and criminal procedure. For many families, this is the only time they'll ever directly address the person responsible for their loved one's death, and you can already feel the emotional temperature in this courtroom rising. Because next, the victim's daughter is about to deliver a statement that completely changes the atmosphere in the room.
All right, thank you. Who's the next person?
So I'm just gonna speak on behalf of the family. You took his father for my daughter. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not there to say this in person, but I know the sentence you were given to spend put away is nothing compared to the literal death sentence you gave my dad. You're a complete coward, and I hope you live the rest of your life in shame and guilt. I walk the stage to graduate in 3 weeks, and I won't have my dad in the stands watching me because of you. You're a monster, and I promise to make sure everyone, including those you love, will see it. You get the freedom of getting visits from your kids, while me and my siblings get the pain of visiting a cemetery. When you do get those visits from your kids, I hope all they see is a criminal, a monster, and a disgusting human. One day, these same words will come to you again, but from my mouth, and I'll look at you in your face as your life goes downhill the way you looked at my dad and took his life. I promise you won't live to see a normal life again as long as I'm around. I'll make sure your face is engraved in people's heads so when they see you, they will see a murderer. My dad taught me and my siblings to be strong physically and mentally, so I assure you that I will get justice for my dad one way or another. This isn't the end, so remember, please, with these words with every day that passes.
That may have been one of the harshest and most emotionally devastating victim impact statements you'll ever hear in open court. The victim's daughter didn't just describe losing her father, she described losing every future moment connected to him. Graduation, family milestones, memories that now only exist as absences. The line about visiting a cemetery while the defendant's children can still visit their father in prison, that hit like a freight train because it reframes the sentence emotionally. Even decades in prison still leave the defendant alive, while the victim's family got a permanent life sentence of grief. That's exactly why victim impact statements carry so much emotional force in homicide cases. Now, some viewers may think parts of her statement crossed into threats or revenge language, especially when she says, "This isn't the end." Courts generally allow strong emotional expression during these hearings as long as it doesn't become a direct, immediate threat requiring intervention. And you can see the courtroom allowing her space to speak through that pain. But here's the deeper question this raises. Should victim impact statements focus purely on grief and healing, or is anger an unavoidable and legitimate part of justice? Because what we're hearing right now is raw trauma, completely unfiltered.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Final one.
Your Honor, I'd ask if I could use the microphone. You have nothing to worry about me.
Okay.
Christian
Oh,
man.
no, I understand.
Microphone or amplifier. You referenced the book twice, reading books twice. I'm reading a book right now, and it has everything to do with the impact of words. And if this is victim impact, I want to use clarity.
Oh, well, I can tell you that I'm the furthest person away from everybody, and I can hear you. All right. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I didn't write anything down. Bondale Skirvin. I'm trying to speak on behalf of Mark, Brenda, April, Crystal, Matthew, Elijah, Daniel, Sabrina, Brianna. These are most of the siblings. I'm sure I forgot some. Also on behalf of Dominique, Zanaya, and Joshua Jr. These are his kids. That's direct impact. I'm just a brother-in-law. I'm just a brother-in-law. When I have to hear his mother Antonia, say that you get to still see your family. Coming up on Mother's Day. My fear was that you were gonna ask for time for that. I thought that would have been very unsuitable. Because none of who I just mentioned will ever get to see him again. And you didn't take a thug or a gangster away. You took a good man. Always be a Christian man. My wife said, April, she said, make sure he knows that on behalf of her and everybody that agrees with her, that they forgive you. Because it's just in the Bible, I know I do too. I have to. I implore you to read the book of Job. The book of Job is a complicated book. It's one of the hardest to read because it's a man that followed God with everything that's going to learn now, but it's so hard. Look at you because can't help but think on November 21st, when I'm talking to the doctor outside of 309, the room he died in. And I asked him how many gunshots did he receive? And the doctor says, we can't even tell. And you as a human being get to stand there and be honest with you. Do you perceive what you did that in front of your kids? I gotta forgive you because I can only hope that your kids do the same for you. I thought I was gonna be cool when I came up here and I forgive you. I forgive you and I hope God does the same. But just know I named those names and that's just the beginning of it because you took the life of the party. You took a human being that was anything but nothing before being the best father that I know. And I'm a great father. And you did that in front of your own kids. I don't know what was going through your head when that happened. That's for you and God.
This final victim impact statement may have been the most layered and emotionally complex one of the entire hearing. Unlike the earlier statements driven mostly by anger, this speaker wrestles openly with forgiveness, faith, and outrage all at the same time. And honestly, that internal conflict made it even more powerful. The moment where he describes asking the doctor how many gunshots the victim suffered, only to hear they couldn't even tell, completely changed the emotional tone of the courtroom. Suddenly, the reality of the violence becomes painfully vivid, and then he pivots into talking about forgiveness through Christianity and the book of Job, which introduces a completely different emotional dimension. But what makes this statement unforgettable is the contradiction he admits out loud. I forgive you, I can't forgive you. That's real grief. Real grief is messy, conflicted, and inconsistent. One moment someone wants mercy, the next moment they're overwhelmed by anger again. And from a courtroom perspective, this is exactly why victim impact hearings matter. They humanize the consequences of violent crime beyond police reports and legal filings. By the time this speaker sits down, the court has heard not just facts about a murder, but the emotional aftershocks rippling through an entire family network.
I actually came up here on behalf of my wife. I didn't realize I could say so much, but wanted you to know on her behalf, forgiven. God forgives you.
Here in States Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. Are we proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Judge, Mr. Skirvin is just remorseful. He's never been in trouble before, and he understands it's a significant sentence, and he just asked the court to follow the plea agreement.
All right, the court will follow the agreement, sentence you to 35 years in prison. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. The court will give you credit for any time served. Showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
And with that, the case comes to a close. The court officially accepts the plea agreement and sentences the defendant to 35 years in prison for murder, along with an affirmative deadly weapon finding, a detail that can significantly affect parole eligibility and prison classification. The defendant also waives most rights to appeal, meaning this sentence is likely final. But if there's one thing this hearing made painfully clear, it's that legal closure and emotional closure are not the same thing. For the court, this case may now be resolved procedurally. For the victim's family, the grief is only beginning. Throughout this hearing, we watched anger, heartbreak, faith, resentment, and forgiveness collide in one emotionally overwhelming courtroom atmosphere. And whether you believe 35 years was fair or not, the emotional damage described by this family is something no sentence can truly erase. What also stood out was how the judge managed the courtroom under extreme emotional pressure, allowing victims to speak freely while still maintaining order and safety. That balancing act is one of the hardest responsibilities any criminal court faces during homicide proceedings. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the 35-year sentence delivered justice in this case, or do you believe the punishment should have been harsher? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns and true crime courtroom analysis right here on the channel.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?